If it's happening in professional wrestling, we're breaking it down. The matches, the moments, the rumors, and yes, even the hot takes. This is Pro Wrestling Focus. No nonsense, no wasted motion, just pure wrestling talk. Now here's your host, Cody Springer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pro Wrestling Focus. And before we shift gears and get into the madness that is SummerSlam weekend, I gotta close the chapter on one last thing. The fallout from the death of Hulk Hogan. We've had tribute posts, backstage reactions, and all kinds of weird timing surrounding the day he passed, including, yes, Vince McMahon going full Fast and Furious on the Merritt Parkway. So let's wrap up the Hulk Hogan related headlines before we dive headfirst into the chaos of the biggest party of the summer. All right, let's start off with Ric Flair because, man, the Nature Boy is not handling Hulk Hogan's death well, and that's putting it lightly. So apparently, on the July 25th episode of the Bubba the Love Sponge show, yeah, that guy, Bubba shared that Flair was spotted at the Yard House in downtown Tampa. Now, if you believe Bubba, and take that how you want, Rick was there crying, doing some kind of interview or just rambling to whoever would listen, and allegedly blaming him for Hogan's death. According to Bubba's source, Flair was on the phone saying, and I quote, "That fat motherfucker Bubba, the last 4 weeks is what killed him." Now, say what you want about Bubba, but let's just pump the brakes right there. Hogan's health had been declining for a while. Bubba reporting on it may have been opportunistic and clout chasey, sure, but he didn't inject Hogan with health problems. If anything, he was more right than wrong about how bad things were. Now, as for Rick, man, I think this is grief, but not the kind that you deal with soberly. This is the type of grief that ends with you passed out at a hotel bar with your Rolex and the lost and found. Let's be real. Ric Flair has been in rough shape for a while now. We've all seen the stories, the bar incidents, the public meltdowns, and the reports of him literally shitting himself in public places. The guy is 76 and still out here trying to live like he's 35. The only bright spot here is that he's cancer-free, and genuinely, that's good news. But beyond that, the man needs help. He needs a real support system, not another round of shots and a lap around the lounge. Hogan's death seems to have shaken Flair in a deep, real way, especially with him now talking about how he might be next. And honestly, it's not out of the question. So yeah, Flair is grieving, but it's messy. It's public, and it's got people like Bubba the Love Sponge caught in the crossfire. And say what you want about Bubba, and again, I think he's a scumbag. But this ain't on him. Hogan's death is a loss that rocked the wrestling world, and folks like Flair are feeling that in a very real, chaotic way. In the end, I just hope Rick gets the help that he needs before this spiral takes him too. Because no matter what you think of the man, watching legends fall apart in real time is heartbreaking, especially when you know it doesn't have to be that way. So let's talk about this whole online conversation I've seen brewing. People nitpicking the WWE roster during the 10 bell salutes for Hulk Hogan. You saw it, I saw it. It started with SmackDown, then Raw, and even NXT. WWE did what they always do when a legend passes. Lights dim, talent on the stage, or in NXT's case, in the ring. Solemn expressions, 10 bells, standard tribute format. But of course, social media had opinions. Some folks are saying the superstars looked disinterested, checked out, emotionless, like they didn't want to be there. And listen, I get where that perception comes from, but let's cut through the bullshit here. The truth is that most of today's roster never had any personal connection to Hulk Hogan. He wasn't their peer, he wasn't their travel buddy, he was a figure, a symbol, a legacy act. The newer generation grew up watching John Cena, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, not Hogan. Hell, for a lot of these younger talents, Hogan was just that old guy who showed up once a year to wave and say, "What you gonna do, brother?" Now, to be fair, there were a few that actually did work with him. John Cena, he tagged with Hogan once on an episode of Raw back in 2006. One of those rare generations collide moments. Cena's talked about it and meant a lot to him, but it was a one-off. Cool moment, not a deep relationship. Randy Orton, he actually had a full-blown program with Hogan. SummerSlam 2006. Legend versus legend killer. So yeah, Orton's got some history there. Probably more than most of the locker room. AJ Styles shared space with Hogan in TNA when Hogan was doing the GM role and trying to reshape the company into whatever the hell he thought was working at the time. So yeah, Styles has interacted with him too. Triple H and Shawn Michaels definitely had meaningful history with Hogan, but they're not in the ring anymore. And honestly, Triple H's tribute voiceover was phenomenal. It hit all the right notes, respectful, dramatic, classic WWE production magic. They handled it right from the corporate side. But let's get back to the current locker room. The actual superstars standing on the ramp, you can't expect them to manufacture emotion for someone they didn't personally know. What are they supposed to do? Wipe away invisible tears, put their hands on their hearts like they're auditioning for a Hallmark movie? Come on now. That's not authenticity. That's theater. I'd rather them be respectful and reserved than play up an emotion that isn't real. Let's be honest. Hogan's legacy isn't clean. He was a major figure in professional wrestling for sure. He helped build the empire. But his personal controversies, especially that racist rant that got leaked, that changed things for a lot of fans and talent. And that brings me to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. People noticed they weren't on the stage during Raw's tribute. And they were at the show, they wrestled, but they weren't out there for the bells. And that says a lot. And honestly, I respect it. Those two have been very clear over the years about their stance on Hogan. They never really forgave the comments. WWE may have brought Hogan back into the fold, but that doesn't mean every performer had to welcome him with open arms. And WWE letting them opt out of that moment, I think that shows a certain maturity backstage now. You don't force fake grief for a guy you've never vibed with. Bottom line is that everyone handles mourning differently. Some stand stoic, some bow their heads, some skip the moment entirely. Doesn't mean they're being disrespectful. It means they're being authentic. Hogan was a massive name, a larger-than-life character, but not everyone today felt that connection. That's not an insult, that's just time. Generations change, locker rooms change, wrestling changes. So no, I'm not going to come down on the roster for not looking devastated. They showed up, they stood with their peers, paid tribute in a way that made sense to them. And frankly, that's all we should expect. You wanted real? You got it. This isn't about forcing feelings. It's about acknowledging legacy. And WWE did that. The production was top tier. The respect was given. But if you're expecting every single person out there to be shedding tears, you're asking for a lie. Hogan was a legend, a complicated one, and the world said goodbye. But not everyone has to say it the same way. All right, we got to talk about this fake ass Brooke Hogan video that's been making the rounds, because this one is ugly. Real disgusting. So here's what happened. On July 28th, Linda Hogan, yes, Hulk's ex-wife, hops on Facebook and shares this AI-generated clip that supposedly features her daughter, Brooke Hogan, going on this full-blown rant about why she wouldn't attend Hulk's funeral. And I'm talking some deep, dark, family bombshell type shit. The voice in the video is saying things like, even if he called me before he died and said I love you, I wouldn't believe it. He had an affair with my best friend. My mom only cared about her new life and never cared about me. They both abused me and no one believes it. It's harsh, it's emotional, but here's the kicker. It was fake. Completely AI generated. Voice cloned. Visuals manipulated. A whole Frankenstein's monster of bullshit. People in the comments immediately started calling it out. They're like, hey, this doesn't even sound like Brooke. You could tell the tone was off and the delivery was robotic. And the visuals were sketchy at best. But what does Linda Hogan do? She leaves the post up. Doesn't delete it, doesn't clarify, doesn't apologize. Just lets that fake trash sit there like it's gospel. Now, I don't know if Linda actually made the video. Honestly, I doubt she did. She probably saw it, believed it, thought it was okay to share it without thinking for 2 seconds. Or maybe she did know it was fake and just wanted to pour gasoline on the fire. Either way, that move, totally irresponsible and completely tasteless. Let me be clear here. I've already said my piece on Hulk Hogan. The man was flawed, real flawed. Some of the stories out there about him aren't flattering. But at the same time, I give credit where credit's due. He changed the wrestling business forever. Without Hulk Hogan, there's a good chance I'm not even doing this podcast, and that's the truth. But this right here, this AI-generated smear job coming from his ex-wife after the man has died, that's foul. That's low. There is no place for this kind of thing. It's one thing for families to have drama. That's real life. That happens. But when you start using fake technology to drag names through the mud, especially people who aren't alive to defend themselves, that's a line that you don't cross. So yeah, fuck whoever made that video. You're not clever. You're not helping. You're a coward hiding behind a voice clone. And if Linda Hogan truly believed it was real, then shame on her for not fact-checking before spreading that mess to the world. We're in a new age where AI can do a lot of amazing things, but this is the dark side of it. This is the shit that makes me sick. Brooke Hogan hasn't said a word about this publicly. I mean, she's come out and said some things and on it, but she hasn't, addressed this specifically. And honestly, I don't blame her. After something like this, I wouldn't say anything either. So let's keep it respectful, people. Hulk Hogan had a complicated life, but no one deserves to be slandered by a goddamn robot in death. All right, let's get into it, because Vince McMahon is back in the headlines, and not for anything good. Again. On July 24th, just hours before the world learned Hulk Hogan had passed away, Vince McMahon, the former chairman of WWE, was out in Westport, Connecticut, doing his best impression of a GTA character in real life. The man was behind the wheel of a 2024 Bentley Continental GT Speed, flying down the Merritt Parkway when he rear-ended a 2023 BMW, slammed into a wooden guardrail, and sent debris flying into oncoming traffic. A 2020 Ford Fusion caught the fallout, and somehow nobody died. Let me be very clear. That's a miracle. All drivers were wearing seatbelts, airbags went off, and Vince's Bentley totaled. The BMW towed. But it gets worse. McMahon was cited for reckless driving and following too closely. He was released on a $500 bond and has a court date in Stamford on August 26. So yeah, this wasn't just a fender bender. This was a reckless 79-year-old man flying down the road like a guy who's about to be late for work because he overslept. So now he's trying to haul ass so he doesn't get in trouble with his boss. And just to add a little more perspective here, Barbara Doran, one of the victims in the crash, came out and said that Vince hit her at 80 to 90 miles an hour. She was trying to get to the Martha's Vineyard ferry. She said that she's lucky to be alive. Her car got catapulted over 100 yards. Let that sink in. She called it a horrific crash, and honestly, that's putting it mildly. Now let's talk about Vince's history with this kind of shit. You might have seen Jim Cornette's comments. He wasn't shocked. He talked about how he and Jim Ross refused to ride with Vince back in the day because the guy drove like a maniac. JR even told Vince, "I love my children and I want to see them again." That should tell you everything. This isn't just a one-off. This is decades of erratic, dangerous behavior behind the wheel. Now look, I've said it before, Vince McMahon built an empire. His vision did change the wrestling business forever. But ever since he got drummed out of WWE, this man has been spiraling. Let's not forget, in 2022, he resigns from WWE amid a sexual misconduct investigation. In 2024, he steps down from TKO and WWE entirely after being hit with a sex trafficking and assault lawsuit by Janelle Grant. And now this car crash, possibly going 90 miles an hour, could have killed multiple people. And yet this man still has no driver, no security, no entourage. What the hell is going on? Let's call it what it is. This might be a late life crisis. A billionaire who's lost power, lost control, lost his company, and now he's just driving around like he's got nothing left to lose. And you know what? That's dangerous for him and for everyone around him. If Vince McMahon truly loved life the way he loves his legacy, he'd park the Bentley, hand the keys over, and get a damn driver, period. Because I don't care how much money or power you've had in your life. When you start putting lives at risk, that's where the conversation changes. That's not eccentric billionaire behavior anymore. That's reckless, selfish bullshit. So yeah, Vince, maybe it's time to hand the keys over, bro, before someone else pays the price. All right, so let's talk about this new video from Plana Productions. He's saying that WWE shouldn't have released their new Netflix series, WWE Unreal, because it kills kayfabe. And listen, I've got respect for Plana. The content's solid. He clearly knows his stuff. But bro, come on. Kayfabe has been dead longer than AOL free trial CDs. We're not exactly breaking some sacred trust here by showing how the ice cream is made. The magician already pulled the curtain back like 20 years ago. I mean, at this point, who doesn't know that wrestling is scripted? It's not a well-guarded industry secret anymore, and the only people who still call wrestling fake are the ones who never actually watched it. They're stuck in this idea that it's just two sweaty guys pretending to fight in their underwear for no reason, and they're missing the entire point. Pro wrestling is a spectacle. It's TV, it's theater, It's a live action comic book with stunt performers and soap opera level drama. So when I hear that WWE is putting out this Unreal series on Netflix, I'm looking at it the same way I used to look at those making of bonus features on a DVD. Yeah, I said DVD. Holy shit, I just aged myself. Next, I'm going to be talking about rewinding VHS tapes and using the yellow cable on the back of the TV. What the hell happened to us? But seriously, the show was just giving people a peek behind the curtain. Like, what's the difference between that and WWE 24 or Ruthless Aggression or the countless shoot interviews, podcasts, documentaries, and Twitter rants we've already consumed over the last decade? Kayfabe isn't just cracked. It's shattered, stomped on, and turned into TikToks. Now, I do get what Polana is saying. There's definitely still a romanticism around the idea of protecting the mystique. That's what made guys like The Undertaker so damn legendary. For the longest time, you couldn't get behind the curtain. But those days are gone. We've evolved. And in 2025, if WWE wants to tell you how the magic works, that's fine. Because we already know the tricks. Doesn't make the show any less entertaining. So to me, WWE Unreal is just another piece of the product. It's a chance to connect with a different kind of viewer, one who's interested in the grind, the chaos, the production, and the storytelling side of the business. And let's be real, half of us lifelong fans are already fantasy booking matches and writing storylines in our own heads anyway. So yeah, shout out to Polana, but we gotta call it what it is. Kayfabe is dead, buried, and cremated. And WWE Unreal isn't killing it. It's just filming the funeral. And speaking of the WWE Unreal show, let's talk about Bruce Pritchard and the way that he came off on that first episode. Because, man, the reactions to this dude are all over the place. Some people are praising his creative instincts, and others are ready to throw him in the trash with Vince's torn up scripts from 2011. And honestly, I'm kind of in that second group. So in the premiere of Unreal, we get a rare peek behind the curtain. And what do we see? Bruce Pritchard acting like a passive-aggressive jackass over the CM Punk versus Seth Rollins match going on long. He's visibly frustrated, pacing around, throwing shade at Chris Park, the producer for that match. You may know him better as Abyss. And I'm just sitting here watching like, dude, calm the hell down. It's a Netflix premiere of Monday Night Raw. Of course the main event is going to run a little long. It's fucking CM Punk and Seth Rollins in a headline match. You want to bitch about time constraints? Be serious. Chris Park is trying to navigate the pressure and keep things on track, and Bruce is out here barking and throwing his weight around like it's the Attitude Era, and he's still Vince's right hand. It wasn't a good look, and frankly, it was unnecessary. The match was great. Crowd was hot. It told a story. That's what matters. But then here's where it gets complicated. We find out that Bruce was actually the one who pitched the Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber. Yeah, that Cena heel turn that no one saw coming. According to WWE Unreal, it was Pritchard who floated the idea, and Triple H and Nick Khan were the ones who greenlit it. And look, that's a big creative swing. Credit where credit's due. That was one of the boldest, most talked about moments in WWE in the last 20 years. And it shook the industry. So that was Bruce's idea. All right, tip of the hat. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But here's where I'm at with Pritchard in 2025. He's still Vince McMahon's boy. Always has been. Even with Vince out of the picture, Bruce is still back there in Gorilla acting like he's the voice of God. It blows my mind that Triple H didn't send him packing the second he took over creative. Maybe William Regal didn't want that executive director gig, which is a shame because Regal would have brought class, calm, and credibility to that role. Instead, we're stuck with Bruce and his brown nosing. The way he treated Chris Park on camera in that episode just made him look like an insecure, overbearing, out of touch relic. Sorry, not sorry, just being real. So yeah, Bruce might have pitched the scene a heel turn, and maybe that earns him a gold star for 1 week. But one creative home run doesn't excuse years of ego and ass kissing. This is a new WWE, new era, new energy, and Pritchard, it feels like dead weight from the old regime. That first episode of Unreal just confirmed what a lot of us already had suspected. You want to keep Pritchard around as a creative voice? Fine. But don't pretend he's some irreplaceable genius. Because let's be honest, even a chimp with a typewriter could come up with something cool once in a while. All right, guys, that will be all for today. Yeah, we wrapped up the Hulk Hogan coverage, and once again, I want to say rest in peace to Hulk Hogan, and my condolences still go out to his family and to those who loved him, cared about him, and we talked about WWE Unreal, the reaction behind that, some of the content from that. And then, we took this ride down Vince McMahon's demolition derby of a life. Reckless behind the wheel, reckless behind the scenes. Hell, maybe the way he handled those sexual misconduct allegations was just as wild and swervy as his driving. Who knows? Maybe he confuses a courtroom for a racetrack too. Either way, buckle up, because tomorrow I'm back with my full SummerSlam Night 1 predictions, and then on Saturday I'll be back at you with Night 2. So stay tuned, stay safe, and don't accept a ride from Vince McMahon anytime soon. But all right, guys, take care, enjoy wrestling, and stay focused.